go.
Okay, well, we got 10 minutes to talk about this. I'm kidding. I'll try not to spend forever on this. Of course, the thing that broke the internet this week was the reveal of the Nintendo Switch 2. Now we're in the gaming section. Y'all excited for the Switch 2? Y'all take out a second mortgage on your house to pay for one?
I was just gonna say, I obviously am not the target audience for this, but if I was, I wouldn't be too fired up about.
Okay. Yeah. Like I said, I'm going to be playing Metroid Prime 4 on my regular Switch. It's going to be so sad. I'm so deprived. This is not right. Okay. Well, folks, the rumors and speculation can finally end. Nintendo has confirmed that the Switch 2 will launch on the 5th of June, 2025. Information on pre-orders were made available during the presentation, and Nintendo has started sending out invitations to purchase to select Nintendo account holders who meet specific criteria. The official price has been set at $449.99.
Loud. Jeez.
Crucially, a bundle will be available on that day one and will include the Switch 2 console and a digital copy of Mario Kart World.
This will be digital copy, you don't say.
This is where we are, dude. I'm sorry. Anyway, this will be priced at $499.99. So to give this some clarification, I picked up a Nintendo Switch as part of a Black Friday deal. Now, they're normally $299.99, but the one I picked up came with a free digital copy of Mario Kart 8, but it's still a free game, even if it's a digital
free
copy.
Game, yeah.
And I got it as a Black Friday deal. That's about $200 less than what they're charging for this with the same deal, basically, with a digital Mario Kart bundle. Let's move on to the next article. We're just going to keep rolling, all right?
Okay, this is.
I would only buy a Switch for Mario games. Well, there might be a game coming out that you'd want to buy. I'm not. I'll say this: there are some games. There's a Mario Kart game, and it looks rather intriguing. But let's move on to this next article. We'll just call this the Switch 2 section if I'm able to get the time code this week. But Switch 2 games cost a bit more than you were probably expecting. That's the new Donkey Kong, by the way. You like it?
Yep.
That's his new look. Okay. It's official. The Nintendo Switch 2 is launching 5th of June with retail price of $449.99. But how much do the actual games cost? Well, it's a bit complicated. Not really, but it ain't simple. As reported by VGC, Mario Kart World will cost $80, but will actually be cheaper if you opt for a digital copy. We don't have the U.S. price at the time writing, but digital copy in the U.K. will set you back $6.99 I'm pretty sure it was $10 less for a digital copy. Donkey Kong Bonanza, meanwhile, will be slightly cheaper. In the U.S., a physical copy will be $69.99, but we don't have a digital price yet. Well, we don't know that they're going to charge less for the digital price on that game. Donkey Kong Bonanza. That's what it's called. Oh, do you get it? Bonanza?
If you have a choice, bananas. Yeah, exactly.
Okay, funny.
Okay, if you have a choice, get the physical copy. Always own physical.
Oh, you must buy digital. It's cheaper. I'm kidding. There's been no official explanation as to the discrepancy in the pricing at the time of writing because everyone's confused. Let's move on to the next article. Let's keep moving. Look at that. Thank you. All right. That's pretty. It's all the Nintendo characters. I gotta tell you, Pauline's looking good. You know, from Donkey Kong, she's one of the racers now. Nintendo Switch 2 presentation gave us pricing for the console, $449 to start, and Nintendo's product pages have given pricing information for accessories, $80 for a Pro controller. They really get you on the controllers. To be fair, all the game consoles do now. You know how much the game controllers cost for a Nintendo GameCube? $24.99 for a regular GameCube controller, $29.99 for the Wavebird. That was their wireless GameCube controller.
My God.
They were the first ones to make that I felt successfully made a wireless controller. Was on the GameCube. $90 for another pair of Joy-Cons and $110 for a replacement dock. Someone writes Siege next to it. But what Nintendo didn't mention during the presentation was game pricing, either for standalone Switch 2 titles or the Switch 2 edition upgrades for existing Switch games. Oh, this is giving me a headache already. So Nintendo announced via its website after the presentation that Mario Kart World, the console's flagship title, will cost $50 when you buy a digital copy, but it'll cost $80 if you buy it separately. And I know that you know that one wizard YouTuber who dresses as a wizard, he was commenting that that bundle that comes with the $50 digital copy, that's going to sell out first, and you'll be stuck buying another version for more money.
Yep.
If it's a digital copy, why should it matter? Why can't they just tack it on to your purchase and send you a code in an email?
I know.
Anyway, pre-order listings at U.S. retailers that have gone live since this morning also list several $80 games. We'll use Walmart as an example. The upgraded Switch 2 edition for a trio of Switch games: 2024 Super Mario Party Jamboree. I could give two what's about that. Okay, 2023's The Legend of Zelda: Tears of the Kingdom and 2022's Kirby and the Forgotten Land are all going for $80, the same as Mario Kart World. That doesn't mean that the $80 is a starting price for all Switch 2 games. Donkey Kong Bonanza is slated July 17th at $69.99, apparently. In line with the $70 default for PlayStation 5 and Xbox Series XS games. So I'll be honest with you, I was expecting $69.99 as a permanent price for Switch games when they went to the Switch 2. And I was expecting an upcharge of $100, making it $399.99. It's just I feel that Nintendo made it a bit more than I was expecting.
Yeah.
I also heard something. So you can buy the Nintendo Switch 2 edition of Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild for $80, or you can put your Nintendo Switch 1 version of Breath of the Wild in your Switch 2 and pay for an upgrade. And that will turn your Switch 1 edition on your Switch 2, I guess, through a digital download, I'm assuming, into the more high def version with the 120 frames per second and the 4K output and all that, and the bonus GPS mode where you can send something to your phone and the phone will tell you where to go in Hyrule and whatnot and all this other stuff. I had read recently online, though, that if you buy a physical edition of The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild or Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom for the Nintendo Switch 2, and I think this has been confirmed, it's not in these articles, what you get inside the box is the Switch 1 version of the game with a code for the high definition version. So they're just selling you the Switch 1 version of the game if you decide to buy it physically. So if you already own the Switch 1 version of the game, do not buy it physically because you're not going to be getting the Switch 2 version of the game. Is any of this making sense to you right now?
Oh, it absolutely is. This is you will own nothing and be happy.
Okay, not all games releases will follow Nintendo's pricing formula. The Switch 2 release of Street Fighter 2 Year 1 2 Fighter Edition retails for $60, and Square Enix's remastered Bravely Default is going for $40, the exact price of the 3DS version launched over a decade ago. So you're getting a high definition version of Bravely Default.
Yep.
Okay. One possible complicating factor for these games. While they're physical releases, they use Nintendo's new game key card format, which attempts to split the difference between true physical copies of a game and download codes. Each cartridge includes a key for the game, but no actual game content. The game itself gets downloaded to your system at first launch. But despite holding no game content, the key card must be inserted each time you launch the game, just like any other physical cartridge. Do you understand what I'm saying here?
Yes, they want you to believe that you have something physical when you just have a download just like every other time.
Well, you have a key that lets you use a download.
It's stupid. Again, you will own nothing and be happy.
Now, this isn't for everything. Of course, I would argue in some ways that Breath of the Wild you're buying, it's not the Switch 2 version of Breath of the Wild. It's the Switch 1 version, which is now a key to let you play the Switch 2 version of Breath of the Wild. Do you understand what I'm saying here?
Yes.
So what about the Switch Edition upgrades? They're thinking it's going to be somewhere between $10 and $20. So my theory was $10 is the reasonable upcharge. It really isn't. They should just give it to you for free if you already own the game. But let's not split hairs there. But I would think $10 would seem reasonable. $20 seemed too much. I'm thinking $14.99. They'll split it between the two price points. But they probably won't. They'll probably go for $20 because if you're getting a Switch 1 version of a game that would sell for $60, and the game is 80, then and you get a download code pack for the extra 20 with your Switch 1 game, then they're going to charge $20 for the upgrade. Doesn't that make sense?
It
Is
does
any of
for
this
them,
making
I
sense?
suppose.
Are you getting
No,
a
no,
headache yet?
it
Are
does.
you getting...
I can make it very simple. They're ripping us off. They really are. They really are. That's what it comes down to. Now, in fairness, I do want to be balanced here. I am about to drop a number of links to various other YouTube channels that have done videos on this. Mannix did one. The Nintendo Switch 2 is a complete scam. Whereas Valiant Renegade said Nintendo 2 is priced right. SunGuard Studios, we need to have a serious talk about Nintendo 2.
He's defending them. He's actually saying it's
Yes.
inflation and other things.
Hold on.
Yeah.
Let me get all these out real quick because
Sure.
we just got to get through them. Nintendo Switch 2 price. So he's defending them. Culture Casino, of course, Switch 2 shocker, talking about the price. What a disaster. And since you brought up inflation, let's do our homework, people, and actually look at actual inflation. This is a link to the current U.S. inflation rates from U.S. Inflation Calculator. Inflation is actually trending down. And in case you haven't been paying attention or you're believing a bunch of bull crap you've been reading online, the economy is actually doing really well for the past 3 months or so. Just saying. So, maybe companies trying to claim we're going to charge you prices because political this and world economics that, they're full of crap. They're using it as an excuse to rake you. That's rake, R-A-K-E. I want to be very clear what I just
rake
said.
You over the coals.
Exactly.
Instead of something else. Anyway, we need to go back to ownership: albums, Blu-rays, cartridges, books, etc. Streaming sucks.
I agree, Clue. This is why I say I can't speak to these games, but when it comes to the movies and it comes to everything else, if you can't buy your own physical media, create it yourself.
There is a big thing in the retro gaming scene where, like, companies like Evercade, they release cartridges for their system which had multiple games on it. I was saying that the Atari 7800 is back and they're releasing physical Atari 7800 games again.
Yeah.
Even you'll see re-releases of older NES games that get re-releases, like Retrobit. They're doing they're re-releasing RC Pro Am 2. So if you never got to have that in your NES library, you can buy a reproduction cartridge of it and work on your NES. And so companies do this, but yeah, as far as the modern consoles go, they really are trying to get it so that you don't own anything. This is my own personal take on what's going on here. I'm thinking, is this the Wii U or is this the PlayStation 3? If we're looking, because the whole reason I went through that whole long-winded history of consoles things in the beginning, I made a point that when Sony released the PlayStation 3, they were very arrogant because the PlayStation 3 had done so well that they sold it for a hefty fee. Now, in their defense, I do believe that console cost a lot of money to make because it was also a Blu-ray player. They were really pushing Blu-ray at the time.
Right.
But I think the price point was too much for most people, and they went with the Xbox or they went with the Nintendo Wii.
This is the other thing that I wanted to say about this whole thing. For all of you Marxists out there that are all about tax the rich, this is what it looks like. This is how corporations tax the rich, because this is something you don't need to survive. This is a luxury. Who buys luxuries? The rich. I've always said this. You talk about the rich, they call you the rich.
Yes.
When they say tax the rich, they mean you.
Put up the next article if you would.
I absolutely would. There you go.
Thank you. Well, if you live in Japan, things aren't so bad.
I wonder why that is.
After the Switch 2 Direct wrapped up, Nintendo put out a press release announcing its pricing in different regions, including Japan. However, it appears that Japanese gamers will have an extra cheaper option if they're happy to have a Japanese language only Switch 2. The Japanese language system is priced at $49,980 yen, approximately $337. at United States dollars versus the 69,980 yen for the multi-language equivalent. Why would someone in Japan care about buying a multi-language equivalent? The base system will
Yeah, I
retail
don't
for
know.
$449 in Japan. So if you live in Japan, you get I think, a very reasonably priced console. See, I was expecting it would be 400.
Mm-hmm.
400 and the games would be $69.99. I originally thought that was going to be Nintendo's price point, $100 more, and the games will be $10 more. But they went $20 more and like $150 more, and actually $200 more if you wanted to get it with the Mario Kart game included in the
Mm-hmm.
box. This is really bad. I'm sorry.
Well, and this is again the whole global thing. You want to start talking tariffs and whatnot. Well, you want to buy something from another country. Again, look at all of friggin' history. Well, I'm having my champagne imported from France.
Yeah,
Oh, guess
that's tough,
what?
man.
You're gonna pay through the nose for that, you rich bastard. And it's gonna be the same thing with these games. I got to get my Japanese game console. Well, maybe you're gonna have to pay a little bit more because global market.
Multi-language for Koreans, Chinese, etc. Or would this be Koreans or Chinese living in Japan? Maybe they'd want to buy the multi-language console. I didn't think about that. Okay, yeah.
Yeah. Well, and irrespective of why any individual would want to, I mean, a company is going to make things available and charge you a little bit more if there's more to it. That's fair.
I don't know how we've gone here. We had so much goodwill. Oh, I know what happened. A pandemic happened and everything went to crap.
Well,
Because like
and the pandemic did a great job of demonstrating to us how vulnerable we were, because we went for almost a year not being able to import anything, and prices went through the roof and everything, and now people are getting pissed that someone is actually trying to implement a fix to that going forward. You don't have to worry about a tanker offshore that can't, come into port because of the sniffles if the stuff is made here in the United States.
Did I tell you a funny story? I was trying to buy stuff on eBay from people in the East during the pandemic. And a couple of
Mm-hmm.
guys from Japan, and he's like, "Well, I can't send it regular mail right now unless you want me to send it by a boat." And I said, "Send it by boat. It'll get here eventually."
Yeah.
That's what I
Yeah.
said. And I ordered something from a guy in Korea as well, and that had to be sent by boat. I ordered the
Well, and
Asian
see,
variant of the Sega Genesis Mini. Yes.
that's exactly what I'm talking about. When you're ordering something from overseas, it ought to be a luxury. So it shouldn't matter if you get it tomorrow, next week, or next year. You know, but if you are getting your absolute necessities from another country, well, guess what? You're a slave, and they own you.
Anyway, moving on to one more. Victor
Did it come
Davis
up? There
Hansen
we
made
go.
it.
There we go.
Tariff. Now what we'll get into, because keep in mind all this expense right now, and I know people are talking about tariffs. This price of the console, there's nothing to do with the tariffs right now. We're going to get to that because there's news
Well,
on that as well. No,
yeah.
because Nintendo now says they're holding pre-orders because now they're assessing tariffs. So this console may go up even more. We don't even have to do that last article. We don't want to, but they're now halting pre-orders because now they're assessing tariffs impact on this. So this high price was before they were worried about tariffs. But if you do want to buy a Switch 2, and if you have the bread, the way some people back in the day had bread for a Neo Geo system, even though it was $600 and the cartridges cost $200 a piece. Of course, now they trade for because they're actual physical media. They now trade for, it's like selling diamonds. But anyway, I almost went to the good old days on the Neo Geo, but we'll do that another time.
I like this
Nintendo's
title.
what?
I like this title.
What's the title?
Nintendo. Oh, I'm getting ahead of you. Go ahead. I'm sorry. I'm on the next article already.
No, we're doing this. Nintendo Switch 2 Direct. I'm giving some highlights from the Direct, all right?
Right.
Every
right.
announcement. And I'm not going to do them all because we'll be here for 3 hours, all right? I'm
Yeah.
just going to do the boatload of information. Okay, every announcement. Mario Kart World. In Mario Kart World, you can go off the racetracks and drive virtually everywhere, race seamlessly across connected roads and racetracks to deliver Mario Kart racing like never before. So maybe this is like what was that movie, The Great Race, where they went anywhere on the racetrack and stuff?
Oh yeah.
And maybe they're using that as a theme, so it'll be more open world than the other racing games. Okay, so that's coming out. Game chat, chatting with your game screen. So you want to chat with your other friends, the other teenagers online. You can use game chat, where you can actually, put the person's face on your, I guess, TV screen, or talk to them. And you can use it with the C button on the right Joy-Con controller. However, I think you only get Game Share for free for a little while, and then it's part of the paid Nintendo Switch Online. So you're not going to be able to use that button unless you pay the yearly fee for Nintendo Switch Online.
There you go.
You like that? There are a lot of hidden costs on this thing, don't you think?
They just want to have their hand in your pocket at all times. That's the way of the future. Yeah.
Let me see. I don't care about this. Okay, Nintendo Switch 2 Welcome Tour. Nintendo Switch 2 Welcome Tour is an introduction to the new system, giving you helpful tips on what the Switch 2 is capable of. You'll be able to read facts via information boards and see them in action along a series of mini games. But it's a paid experience. Oh, Nintendo parentheses. But it launches alongside the console on 5th June. Like Sony had something similar with the PlayStation 4 with the little Astrobot character they created. But the little tour thing they had was a free download. Something you got for the system to show you how it worked. Do you understand?
Yeah.
Nintendo's charging you for that. We got our first look at Nintendo Switch 2 game cards, which are now red, boast much more faster speeds. Nintendo also informed us that the system won't be compatible with micro SD cards and will require you to use micro SD Express cards instead. This is something I'm not going to attack Nintendo on, because one thing I do like about Nintendo with their storage, it's not proprietary. So you can buy SanDisk or whatever for the your storage needs. You don't have to buy anything that Nintendo sells. So that's good. Let's give them some props. Other companies, they sometimes use proprietary storage, and that pisses me off. The all-new Switch 2 Pro Controller has the C button. Okay, looks like the old Switch 2. Okay, here's some games coming out. Any Elden Ring fans in here? Elden Ring Tarnished Edition comes out. So the critically acclaimed dark fantasy action RPG Elden Ring Tarnished Edition is coming to Nintendo Switch 2 this year, including the base game, Shadow of the Erdtree expansion, new armor, and a new torrent appearance customization feature. So if you don't already own Elden Ring for your Xbox or your PlayStation or your PC and you wanted to play it on a Nintendo console, you have it right here. Same for Hogwarts Legacy. It's coming to Nintendo Switch. So if you didn't already have it, you can get it on Nintendo Switch 2. What do you think of that?
Good.
The Harry Potter one. Okay. Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 3 and 4. It's going to also launch on Nintendo Switch. This one had me excited, but it's coming out on other consoles too. Project 007. It's a very similar teaser to the reveal we saw 4 years ago, but IO Interactive revealed that the James Bond starring title Project 007 is still very real, and it will be coming to Switch 2 at some point. All right, Yakuza 0 Director's Cut, the definitive version of Yakuza 0. So if you want more Yakuza 0, and if you haven't already bought it twice on your Xbox One and your PlayStation 4 because you're obsessive compulsive, like some people talking right now, you can buy it again on your Switch 2. You didn't get what I just did there. Okay. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Hyrule Warriors Age of Imprisoned. Oh, this is a new warrior-style game set in the Zelda universe. So this is a new game. Okay. Nintendo Switch Online GameCube Library. Nintendo Switch Online plus Expansion Pass. You have to buy the Expansion Pass for I think 50 or whatever they're charging this year. But then you get access to GameCube games that you can download onto your system and play as long as you're a subscriber. Otherwise, you don't get to play them. The Legend of Zelda The Wind Waker is going to be on this. Soul Calibur 2 F-Zero GX. So instead of getting the Legend of Zelda HD remake that they released on the Wii U, and I was hoping would get ported to the Nintendo Switch or even the Switch 2, we're going to get to play the old GameCube version, which is not HD, through a subscription pass. It's fine.
There you go.
Cyberpunk 2077 Ultimate Edition.
No, it's fine. And I picture the cartoon dog sitting drinking his beer with flames all around. Yeah, it's fine. This is
Okay,
fine.
because I wanted to get that HD remake you did on the Wii U. You already made it in HD, and I could play that version, and that's the version I want for the Nintendo Switch. And you didn't bring it out. You brought crap out that I didn't want. But anyway, okay. Cyberpunk 2077 Ultimate Edition. If you want Cyberpunk 2077, Final Fantasy VII, Hollow Knight Silk Song still being made. Star Wars Outlaws, the big Ubisoft hit that was released last year. Remember?
Mm-hmm.
The one that we made fun of? Anyway, that's coming
Yep.
out. Professor Layton in the New World of Steam is coming out. So, Professor Layton, he's the world's greatest detective, and now he's in the New World of Steam. That was a game series made where it's almost like you're solving mysteries, but it's like solving highlights puzzles. Remember Highlights magazine?
I do, yeah.
Okay, yes, okay. The Duskbloods. This is an exclusive game from Software, and they think it's an unofficial sequel to Bloodborne that was a PlayStation 4 exclusive, and it's coming exclusively to Nintendo Switch too. So this could get the From Software nuts. The people that like Dark Souls and Elden Ring, they might want to get this on Switch. Get a Switch 2 for this. Kirby's Air Riders. A Kirby is a brand new title directed by Masahiro Sakura. The original Kirby Air Ride game was originally released on GameCube over 20 years ago. Nobody liked Kirby's Air Ride. Donkey Kong Bonanza. Explore a vast underground world by smashing your way through it. Bash, throw, and climb your way through just about anything in DK's brand new 3D platforming action adventure game. That looks really cool. Basically, it's like a Mario 3D platformer, except you get to destroy everything on the screen and rip the ground up and just demolish it because you're playing as Donkey Kong. You understand?
Yes.
Okay. It looked good. I wish it was coming out on the regular Nintendo Switch so I could play it, but because I'm not getting a Nintendo Switch 2 anytime soon. Let's go to the next article. The GameCube scalpers.
Yes, this is
I'm
the
not
one
going
that
to
I was
spend.
talking about.
Why do you find this interesting? Why do you
Because
find this funny?
because I hate scalpers.
How are you a scalper? I'm not time traveling back in time to 2001 to go buy GameCube games to store them, then sell them later. The GameCube's been a defunct system since 2006. It's not my fault that at the time everybody made fun of the GameCube and made fun of GameCube owners. I'm speaking to me. And we bought our GameCube games, and now it's this big collectible system where the games fetch high prices because they weren't producing high numbers because nobody bought the system. They were all buying the PlayStation 2. So now don't whine to me that these games are expensive. You don't already own GameCube games. I don't know what to tell you. Now, I do wish that Nintendo had, instead of doing this stupid Switch Online GameCube, they had just taken these classic GameCube games and remastered them in HD and released them, which they did with the Wind Waker, but we're not going to get that version. Anyway, let's see. Yesterday, Nintendo lifted on Switch 2. Its next hybrid console launches June will cost $450. There will be plenty of big announcements, which you can read about here. But for retro fans, the confirmation that GameCube games are coming to the Nintendo Switch Online will have been one of the highlights. Except you don't own these games. You don't even own them as digital downloads because you have to pay the subscription service to use them.
Yes.
Yes, Fire Emblem Path of Radiance is insanely costly these days. It was at one point $19.99. Suckers. Chibi Robo, I had that one. Okay, let's move on. I don't care. This is getting late and we have other stories to cover. Let's wrap up this talk with the last article of the night.
Absolutely. Absolutely. There we go.
I'm not informed enough on this, so I won't be spouting out a political opinion, but I am going to say this, though, that people were yelling. I know Forbes had said, well, the reason it's so much is because of the tariffs. And I'm like, well, no, because now Nintendo
that has not yet been factored in.
They've not factored that in yet. So
they
Nintendo
will use
Switch,
it as an excuse to take the price up even further.
Maybe,
and then,
yes.
And I'm telling you, it's like the other one you were talking about. If they push the price too high, and this is the thing to always remember, people. These people selling things to you will always charge you as much as the market will bear. They always want to maximize their profit. So they will charge you as much as they can. And if they put something out at a price point and it sells out, they know they could have put it out for more. So the next time they will. So just remember that especially when you're doing pre-orders and you're going to get the POS that breaks down on you day one. And they say, wait, we're going to put out a fix. And all the people that didn't put their money, in someone else's pocket for a year is like, okay, I don't mind waiting. I've waited this long. and you're sitting there going, "You've got my money. I want my thing." Just saying.
Troy gets passionate.
I do. Yeah.
I mean, you know, it's like that scene from Pirates of Silicon Valley. I want to use the clip when Bill Gates is looking at the latest, I guess, Mac computer. And he's like, "I want it, Steve. I want it!" And he's screaming. And it's just... Did you ever see that TNT made for TNT movie about the beginnings of my Apple and Microsoft?
I did not know.
It's a fascinating movie. I recommend that you check it out sometime. It really makes Steve Jobs and Bill Gates look terrible in that movie. They both come out
well, then it's probably fairly accurate. Okay.
Yes. Pre-orders for Nintendo Switch 2 in the US will not start until April 9th as they had planned. They were going to do it this week. In order to assess the potential impact of tariffs and evolving market conditions, the company said in a statement, Nintendo will update timing at a later date. The launch date of June 5th, 2025 is unchanged. Can I just talk a little bit about the fallout? For instance, Sungrave made a point, and I actually do agree with him, that not all of this stuff is bad. Like, we don't like this whole card key crap. Do you? I don't like it. But I think what Nintendo is saying is, for a while, there have been third-party Nintendo Switch games that have released where you needed to download part of the game onto the console, and it wasn't all on the card. And I think that this is Nintendo's way of showing transparency, basically telling these third-party companies, look, if you don't want to put the whole game on the cartridge, we'll let you do that, but you have to advertise it as a key and not as a cartridge, because that's false advertising. So maybe in some ways they are being more transparent there. For instance, this new Tony Hawk game coming out for all consoles, including the Switch and also places for it, says internet required for the game for a download. Well, why do I need internet to play a game I bought in a store off the shelf?
Exactly.
Because the game isn't on the disc.
Exactly.
Anyway.
And so that's why I mean, it's stupid. It's still a download. It's still an internet game. You don't actually own anything. Clue absolutely clearly understands this thing. If Nintendo puts a factory in the US and the prices drop dramatically, you just took it down.
I took it down. We were all trying to put it up at the same time. Okay, yes.
If Nintendo put a factory in the US and the prices drop dramatically, will they credit Trump for his tariffs? Nope. But he's absolutely right. This is, again, this is how tariffs work. He is literally bringing the jobs back to the United States. You have been okay with buying cheap crap from overseas because you're benefiting from slave labor. I'm calling it. That's exactly what this is. You benefit from slave labor, and then you're in this country complaining about our history of slavery. You are currently using slave labor, and you're bitching about our country's history where we fought a war over getting rid of slavery.
I was making a joke to my mom this weekend, and I was saying, I think I made this joke to you too. I was like, instead of playing Metroid Prime 4 on the Switch 2 like a winner, I'm going to be playing Metroid Prime 4 on the Switch 1 like a loser, and it's all Trump's fault. I mean,
yeah,
exactly. She yelled at me.
It's all Trump's. It's always Trump's fault.
So right? I don't know what's going to happen. I am going to say, though, maybe if you have some...
And now I've got to say, and can I get an amen?
All right, so now we're going to move on to the last... Anyway, but here's what I'm going to say. Am I going to be buying a Switch 2? No, because one of the things I got angry about the Switch 2 is that Switch 1 games will run on it, but run on a Switch 1 emulator. So when I port all my digital purchases over to the Switch 2, because heaven forbid I'd be able to have them on two consoles that I own under the same Nintendo account. Exactly. I have to have them only on one console. Apparently... some of the games won't work properly because they haven't worked out the kinks yet. And I'm like, you know what? I'm happy with my Nintendo Switch, and maybe I can just sit this console generation out, and maybe in the next console generation, Microsoft, Sony, Nintendo, or some other company will make something I want to buy. I got enough games. There's still stuff coming out for the regular Switch. There's still even stuff coming out for the PS4 that I can buy. I'm just going to hang out here in last gen world and relax. And I do want to tell console manufacturers this. You're not just competing with each other, you're competing with your last iteration of your console. I'm sorry. I went off on a tangent there. Moving on.